How to start as a data consultant. In the last 3 weeks, I had 3 calls where people were actually asking this question. Different backgrounds, but usually like some of them are in full-time jobs at the moment and they really want to do something different. And so they want to work on different kind of projects and they want to do things on their own. So not really like depending on, let's say, the same setup that they have every day. And maybe some people just want to test out how this works. And I'm working as a data consultant now for, I think it's 8 years. Yeah, actually it's 8 years. Great. These are basically my learnings after these 8 years. Welcome back. I'm Timo from Deep Sky Data, a small and little consultancy focusing on making better data collection and tracking setups. And I've been working as a data consultant for now 8 years, and it was quite a journey what I did during this time. And so I was definitely not doing what I'm doing today. I was doing different things during this time. And it took me 8 years to learn some significant things. Could I learn it before? Maybe. Of course, I talked to some people, and some people gave me definitely some really, really good tips when I was starting out. But some things had to develop over time. I just sat down and wrote down 4 things that were really important for me, that I would always have this if I would go back and tell my younger self, hey, these are the 4 things you should focus on. I would do that. As far as I know myself, I would definitely not listen to it because, I always have to make some experiences. But maybe you want to do some experiences yourself, or maybe you want to have at least 4 things that can help you maybe to approach it in a, let's say, prepared way. So let's start. The 4 items are: first, you have to know your secret weapon. Second, you have to have a growth strategy. Wow, big surprise. Third, you really have to explore and refine what you're doing. And fourth, find your setup. Okay, we're stopping the video now. So now you know everything that we need to know. No, okay, so let's get into it. First of all, know your secret weapon. And this is quite interesting. And it was maybe something that I really had to learn on the hard way, because I'm someone who has broad interests. Really like broad interests. I still have that. I mean, I like to venture in all the different kind of areas. I still do sometimes front-end development. Not really good, so I shouldn't show this to a developer, but I do it because maybe I want to try out something. And that's good. So broad interest is definitely helpful, but if you want to sell something, it's hard for people to keep you in mind for a broad thing. So of course, like you could be like the data guy, and so, or the data woman, and so on. So what I'm trying to do is I want to be in a person's head for a specific kind of problem they might come across, or maybe other people they talk to come across. For example, in my case, it's like people have problems with their tracking setup. I try to be that when people know me, that they have in their head tracking Timo, or tracking Deep Sky Data, so depending on in which kind of context they know me. And so because like if they have a coffee with someone else and someone else says, we have so many problems with our tracking problem, bing. So this goes off in their head and they say, you have to talk to Timo. And this actually works. And I think I also know other people who have the same thing. So they have a very clear, let's say, special thing that I have in my head. Whenever I come across X, I know, you should talk to this kind of person. And I think this takes time to develop these kind of things, because different things go into there to make it. And so I didn't have a very good approach to figure this out. So it was just like, I don't know, thinking about it over 7 years. And at some point I developed like these kind of positioning and sharpening of the things that I do. One thing, so I thought about, okay, how maybe can you approach it in a more structured way? And so this is an idea that I will also like try out over the next months. Maybe if it helps me to maybe come up with some new ideas, or maybe to even refine the things that I do. What I would recommend to do is like list out all the things that you have finished in the last, let's say, 6 to 12 months. And like the focus is really like what you have finished. So small tasks, things that you have delivered in some kind of way. So be it a dashboard, be it a pipeline, some kind of model extension, a good summary in an email. So everything that you have sent to someone or that you have created for yourself, so don't have to go outside, so that you have to create it for yourself and that has solved actually something. So make this list and then put it in a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is always a good place to start. And then add these other columns next to it. So first of all, skill. Skill is maybe like an indicator, how often have you done this? So did you just one time, or maybe do it basically every week? So this can give you an idea. Then fun. So how much fun do you have had to do this kind of thing? Then the need. What did you really have solved? So was this dashboard just like because someone has asked for them and you already know that no one actually used it? So not really like a high need. Or maybe even you delivered something, maybe even to yourself, that you use on a regular base. This is what I mean with need. Then a little bit difficult, potential market. Think about how many, let's say, companies, people, team might have the same needs. Just try to get an idea. So maybe sometimes it's really so special, like because you developed something for a specific kind of tool that you know, okay, I don't know, 2 people in the whole world are using. Yeah, maybe not such a huge market for it. And then last part, competition. So if you basically have an idea about the market, then usually competition is not so hard. So for example, if you come up with, hey, I did a really good Google Analytics 4 implementation, there is definitely a market for it. But of course, like there is also like a lot more competition for it because like there are a lot of agencies out there who just do Google Analytics stuff. So these are like the columns, and then put some scores under it. And this is not a scientific exercise. So this is more like get an idea, play a little bit around it. And so like take a score. I would start maybe with 1 to 5. So 1 is like low, 5 is really high. So when you have fun, 1 would be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this again. 5 would be like, it would be my greatest life if I can do this every day. So just that you get an indicator. And then in the end, just add up. And make a sum. And because this can give you a scoreboard of things that you do, and it basically rationalizes a little bit. And it gives you like an idea where you can focus on. And I maybe then just pick the top 3 and think about, okay, are these maybe options to do more when you work as a data consultant? Keep the 3 in your mind. We come back to them later. The next thing, yes, important question. Have a growth strategy. Okay. I think this is maybe this is the most scary thing for most of the people when starting out. I mean, of course, like when you are a full-time employee, by the end of the month, you get some money. So it works automatically. It's super cool. And it's really nice. So if you then go to a different job, you maybe can get more money. And then you also get it every end of the month. If you work by yourself, you don't know, or maybe in the beginning, you don't really know where the money is coming from. What I definitely recommend if you start out, have something that I would call, let's say, maybe a launch project, or I sometimes also call it like an insurance project. For example, when I started out to work on myself, I had a quite big retainer with one of my former companies where I worked as a full-time employee, because I know that they were running a lot of different kind of projects. And so I asked them, okay, can I maybe come on board as a contractor and and see how many days I can cover with that. And so maybe I can do really like 3 days, and then the other 2 days I can see how I can build out this new thing that I was trying to. And of course, this was super helpful for me because like it gave me the flexibility to really like do 3 days work that was covering all my expenses and gave me very stable income. And I could use the other 2 days to do different kind of things and to develop the kind of data project that I wanted to do. And actually, this insurance project had nothing to do with data. So it was classic project management that I was doing before, but it was okay. It paid the bill. And it gave me this kind of leeway over almost 12 months, I would say, to slowly build up more and more data project. Maybe it took 2 months until the first data project came, and then there came some more, and then I started to reduce the 3 days to 2 days, and then I started to reduce to 1 day, and at some point it really faded out. But it helped me a lot to not go crazy. It helped me a lot not to do desperate approach of getting new clients, which might also help. So we come to this in a second. So this can definitely help. So there are different ways how to achieve that. So one way of like maybe the easiest is like, of course, like former companies, because they know you, maybe they really had good experiences with you, maybe they were really sad to see you go at some point. And so just warm them up. If you still have a good connection to them, even better. If not, call out, have a coffee with one of the people that you worked with before and start this kind of conversation. And be quite open. Just say, hey, I'm starting out. I'm looking for a possibility to do some contracting work. Would it be interesting? Usually, like, people are pretty open to this because, I mean, you have to keep in mind, these people already know you. So there's a trust relationship. They know how you work. So they actually know what kind of results they can expect. And so it's super easy, or it's a lot easier for them to bring you in than just a random contractor. So you're definitely a better pick because, like, I mean, it's always a risk to bring someone in that you don't really know. So if you don't really have this kind of setup, another way that could also work is like to look for consultancies which are in the area. So, I mean, in data, look for other data consultancies. Data consultancies usually look out also for contractors because every consultancy, and you will see this if you really scale up, every consultancies have problems to manage resources or to balance resources. So because it's super hard to predict, okay, how the workload will look like in next month. Maybe it really goes up. And usually, like, you have the situation that it goes up and you cannot really balance with the people that are actually working in the consultancy. So every consultancy usually have a pool of contractors and freelancers they work with from time to time. And so it's definitely worthwhile to reach out to them, show them what you do, and ask them if you can maybe join for a little project and so on, so that they can test out, you can test out how it works out. And so this can definitely help in the beginning as well. This is like 50% that you do. The other thing, so this keeps you safe. So you have, let's say, a stream of money that coming in, and then you basically build out and grow your real business that you really want to do. I think the best way still is like to work in your network. And it's not like that you go out to a lot of networking parties and handing out like your cards, your business cards, and chatting to a lot of people. I mean, of course, this is a way too, but you definitely have to be the person for it. I'm not such a kind of person. So what definitely works is like look into your network and talk to the people in your network where you know, okay, they might be interested in the thing that you do, and talk openly with them that you want to do this now. As said, so if you do this exercise in the first part where you really was trying to figure out, okay, what are like your top areas that you want to do, this already helps. So if you talk to these people in the network, you can say, actually, I want to do this one or two kind of things. I want to solve this for companies, because then they really have a clear picture, and either maybe they already need this kind of thing. Don't be disappointed. If not, it's usually a rare case that you come speak to someone from your network, they immediately say, actually, we need this. But sometimes it happens. But the good thing is, like, when you're starting to talk these kind of people, they will do some things. So first of all, they will keep in mind, okay, I mean, maybe they're friends or they really know you good. So they know, okay, actually this person now has started out. And so I keep it in my back of my head. And so they now run through their world with this information that there's a person now who's doing maybe the best e-commerce dashboards. And so someone comes across and says, we still have not a good reporting. They say, actually, I know someone. This is how it worked for me as well. So I started out to talk to the people that I know and was telling them, okay, actually, I want to do really like sole data projects. And it was interesting for me because before I was working full-time in product, so I never really worked full-time in data. So for me, it was even like venturing in a new area that, of course, I knew a lot of stuff, but never really did it as, let's say, a full-time employee. I did the same. So I started to talk to people in my network, telling them, hey, actually doing this and doing this. I mean, it's nice. You can just do a lunch and you talk about a lot of things, but also about this. And this helped me because like one person then came around and said, a friend of mine, they have a startup. They are not really happy with the data they get. And so maybe you can help. And so this is how everything, at least for me, started out. And the good thing about network is like, if you do good work, and of course you want to do, so I mean, I think this is like the basic requirement. You have to do good work if you want to do work as a data consultant. So if you do good work, usually like, it starts to spread, and so it grows organically. And then this is like the kind of organic growth that you want to have. If your network is really, really small, or maybe in a totally different way, then you might have to start to grow it from ground up. I don't have super experience with that, but I mean, if I would be in the situation, I would definitely try to go to different kind of meetups that are in this kind of space and get in touch. So get into the community. So get into the kind of, let's say, data community that you have next to you. If it's hard, if you, for example, live in a rural area and you don't really have these kind of communities around, then you go to online. So you check for online communities, you contribute. So community always works with contribution. If you start to contribute in a community, you basically build up your profile, and at some point you come into, let's say, talks with people. So you build up, so you contribute, and then if you find people that you really like and they think the same as you, reach out to them and ask them if you can have a virtual coffee with them. And so make this kind of connection, then you do the same thing that you would do, what I described with your network. And so by that you can really grow. Two alternative ways, but definitely harder. One is like, of course, you can create content. This can work, but it requires a lot of work to do. But anyway, it's always like a good thing like to start to build out some kind of portfolio. So try to create some projects on your own where you can showcase, okay, this is how I work with data. So basically test setups, whatever. And then of course, like you can create content around this. But I can definitely tell you, content is really like a long game. So if you start to invest into content, at least plan 12 months not really happening a lot. So this really like, it's very, let's say it's a drastic calculation, but you really, let's say, account for 12 months. So if you can do this, and then it could be also like a possibility. But content really takes time until it really gets to the point that people will ask you if you can work for them. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it even takes longer, but I would definitely count with 12 months. So network is definitely the one that goes quicker because it's the same thing. I mean, in the end, working as a data consultant, everything is about trust. Someone who hires you needs to trust you that you can solve their problem. So if someone from a network of you recommends you, there's already like a big trust in the game. And so it's usually a lot easier to land this kind of thing. If you're really good in content production and produce a lot of things, then people trust the things that they see from you, and you build up trust by this. But it definitely takes longer than in networks. So I would definitely start out with networks. It's a lot quicker. Content is definitely a good alternative, but takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So, growth strategy. Next one. I call this explore and refine. So this is basically like the stage that you already have started out with some kind of projects. And usually everyone starts out very opportunistic. So it's basically like someone then from your network comes back and say, yeah, I know this one. So they want to have better Tableau dashboards. So you say, yeah, okay, I did a little bit with Tableau, but maybe I do a little bit more with another different kind of tool, but it's fine. I mean, in the end, I want to do data projects, so I do data projects. And so you go into it. So basically, the questions and the requests of your customers are basically driving what you are doing. And I did this for 6 or 7 years. So really like whatever basically land in front of my door, I had a look in it and I picked it up. So in the first place, I picked up basically everything. And the more you progress, of course, like you start to be a little bit more selective. So there might be like some kind of project that you say, oh, now it's really like something that I want to do, or maybe it's so far away that it's super hard for me to do. But you will start opportunistic, and it's totally good. Your top 3 items that you just basically had in develop in the first place is definitely a good compass to use. Let's say these are the preferred ones that you want to do, and maybe every 5th project is something from this top 3 list, and that's good. But it's good because it gives you a possibility to check and reevaluate, these are really like the top 3 things. And so these opportunistic consulting has several advantages. First of all, it gives you your first really good streams of revenue. Second of all, it gives you let's say a sandbox environment where you can play out, where you can really see, okay, is this something which I really like to do? Is this something where I'm really good at? Is this something that resonates a lot with my clients? So are these maybe, you will have projects that are very successfully, and you will have projects that are totally not successfully, and this will happen. So it's a rare case that you only do successful projects. And so the good thing is like in this explore and refine thing is like, this is where you can learn. So if you have a very successful project, take a step back once it's finished, and you will also learn that some projects really never finished. So there's also learning. So if it's really finished or if it's at some point of time, just take a step back and do a retrospective. So if it was a project that was really good, figure out why it was so good. So what were the parameters that made it good? So these can be specific kind of attributes from your clients. So for example, in my case, it was like when someone from engineering was involved. So usually these kind of projects work better because like I'm an engineer myself, so it's easier for me to communicate with engineers. And so this was something that I learned on the way. So you will learn other things. And you can use this phase. And as I said, so mine took 6 years. You can use this phase for two things. First of all, you can definitely learn to work with expectation management, because this will be like your crucial ingredient, how good these projects work. And some projects are super easy to set expectations and some are super hard. But it's a good case. See it as a training in each kind of project to really work to make very good expectations before you start out. This is one thing. And the second thing is really like do a lot of retrospectives, really like go a lot into your own mind, sketch out the things that worked, sketch out the things that don't work, find the parameters that make your work successful, and find the parameters that don't really work for you. And these are often super different for each kind of person, so you really have to figure them out yourself. You collect a lot of knowledge on this way, and if you really do this in this kind of approach, you get a lot better to refine the things, how you want to work. And if this works out, and so it doesn't have to take you 6 years, but at some point you will be in a stage where you can say, okay, I really have a very good idea what kind of projects I really like to do, what kind of things I really like to solve, what kind of clients I like to work with, what kind of, let's say, environment variables need to be there that it really works well for me. And if you have all this lying in front of you, then you're in a good stage to think about standardizing some kind of your services. Because standardized services is basically, at least for me, it's like where I want to end up. Because standardized services has some benefits. First of all, you decouple yourself from just selling your time. So usually like you sell a package. Of course, like this package requires a specific kind of time but since you are selling the full solution, you don't really have to say, actually, I just sell 10 hours or so. You can sell the full package as an offering. So this is the first thing. The second thing is like, when you really standardize this kind of package, you basically can do product development on this package. So you can improve it really like over time because you just do this one thing and you just sell this one thing. And so every investment into this pays off in all the different kind of projects that come afterwards, because it's not custom anymore. So like if you, for example, improve, let's say, a task workflow for this kind of solution, it totally makes sense because it will pay off at least in the next one that you sell. And since you are focusing on standardizing, you know that you will sell it out. This changed a lot how you work. And it also changed a lot how you sell, because in the end, you basically are leaving this area of opportunistic projects. So you are more like, people come to you with their kind of problem and you tell them, actually, this is my solution for that. And so you don't like pick them up what they want to do. You're more like, I understand what you're struggling with. This is how I solve it. Does this fit to your problem? And then if it fits, it's cool, because like often like the clients and then are super happy that you have a clear plan how to approach it. And sometimes clients might say, yeah, I get what you do. It might solve my problem, but it's not really like the way how I want to approach it. And that's super good. I mean, they then go off and find someone else. But this is good because this is the kind of filtering that you want to have in the first place, because you want to solve the things your way, because you have invested a lot of time. So you have trained yourself to do this kind of thing, and you're really good in this kind of solution. And so now the only thing is, what you have to do is like to find the people with the problem that fit to this kind of solution. And so for me, this is like the final stage. So where I am right now is really like that you have a good understanding where you can build a standardized service. And maybe, so you start out with one and you optimize the one, and this can really long. So for me, it took 8 months to really have a, let's say, a standardized service where I would now say, okay, now it really has reached a shape where I'm quite happy with it. It will still improve over time, but more like incrementally, not really significantly. And now I could maybe start, and I will start, to build a second package around that. So this is also like one learning. Find one. Don't focus on 10. I started to focus on 10 in the beginning. Of course, this didn't work. So in the end, focus, not a huge learning, but focus definitely helps there. Focus on one and build it out. And so the good thing is, like, if you really do all the journey before in, let's say, with an open and clear mind, and you always go in this feedback thing, so it might not be hard for you. And so this is like the journey that I see as a data consultant, but because it's my journey and I can tell about this. I know that a lot of other data consultants have other journeys to tell. And so this is another thing that you can do. If you meet a data consultant, just ask them. Ask them how they do it, ask them how they did it, what was the motivation, how did they get started, and so on. Try to learn from others as well. They don't maybe do things that you like to do, but maybe there are 1-2 things that you might take away. So I enjoy these conversations a lot, and I have them quite a lot, that I also talk to others. And I talk very openly to them, and they talk very openly to me. Because in the end, data is a big market, and so it's not like that oh my God, I'm talking to the competition, I cannot tell anything. Fortunately, this kind of industry is not like this. Maybe it becomes like this in the future. I don't know. Right now, it's totally okay. So take this opportunity and try to talk to these kind of people. So I hope this helps you. I hope this gives you some kind of idea if you're thinking about to become a data consultant. And just let me know your questions. So there are comments below, and you can just add your questions in the comments. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because I might drop another video where I explain some of my learnings to become a data consultant, and you want to get recognized. Also, you want to get an alert when this happens. So don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.